This is one of the most remarkable true stories ever told. On December the 24th, 1971, 17-year-old Julia Koepcke and her mother boarded Lanza Airlines flight number 508 out of Lima, Peru. Some 300 or 400 miles out of Lima, the plane was flying over the Amazon jungle. Deep into the rainforest, Flight 508 was attempting to fly through a severe thunderstorm. The flight was late, and a decision was made to go through instead of around the storm. Julia was sitting next to the window, her mother next to her, and then a man next to her mother. The three seats were linked together. Mr. Koepcke had cautioned his family about flying Lanza Airlines. They had had lots of mechanical problems in the past, but it was the only flight going out that day. Julia said that she remembered seeing lightning strike the wings with a loud boom, then seeing the wing come off. She said it was as though the airplane left and there she was outside. She remembered seeing the tree canopy rushing up to her before she blacked out. Several hours later, she woke up on the muddy ground, still sitting strapped in her seat. The three seats were still held together, but her mother and the man was gone. For the next night and day, she was coming in and out of consciousness. When she began to realize what had happened, she began to feel extreme pain. It was discovered later that she must have been in shock. Her shoulder bone was broke, a gash was in her leg, a severe cut on her arm, one eye completely closed, and a severe concussion. Aviation specialists stated that several things had to work in her favor in order for her to survive such a fall from 2 miles up. The seat began to spin, much like a helicopter does when it's falling. This happened to slow the fall slightly. The canopy and vines acted like a net, slowing it further. When Julia was at herself enough to begin thinking clearly, she remembered what her dad had taught her. If you ever get lost in the woods, follow the water. Small streams run into larger streams, and large streams runs into creeks, and creeks runs into rivers, and people live near rivers. She had no way of knowing which way to start. She would just walk until she found a stream. It would not be easy. It was cold at night, and she was wearing a mini skirt. That was the fashion in the 1970s. She had only one shoe, a flip-flop. She was walking through one of the most dangerous rainforests, the Amazon jungle, in the world. She had barely got started when she discovered three women, no longer alive, still buckled to a row of seats. She was relieved to see that it wasn't her mother. She began her ordeal through the jungle. She found candy that must have been in someone's suitcase. She found part of a Christmas cake that was soaked and muddy. She regretted not washing the mud off and taking it with her. The third day she found a small stream and began following it downstream. At night she would try to hide herself, cover herself with branches or whatever she could find. She would be still and not make a noise. She could hear wild animals prowling through the night. She would freeze and shake from the cold rain. She discovered maggots deep inside the cut on her arm. She tried to pick them out, but some were too deep. She was later told that the maggots probably kept her arm from getting infected. She would walk down the middle of the stream. A couple of times she spotted alligators. She would quietly go around. Even in the face of danger, she was never afraid. She got so hungry the first few days, she thought of eating little green frogs, but didn't. It was the only thing that she could catch. She lost her appetite after 5 or 6 days. She later learned the little frogs were called arrow frogs because natives would rub them on the tips of their spears. They were extremely poisonous. In time, she came to a river. On the 11th day, still in pain, she spotted a shack used by woodmen. She was so weak she could not climb the bank from the river. Hollering for help, the 3 men that found her were scared to come near. They knew they were the only ones that were that far into the forest. They thought her a water witch. When she explained about the plane crash, they gave her food and water, poured gasoline on her arm, trying to clear the maggots. But there were no roads. She was put in a canoe and then taken for help. They were still 11 hours by canoe to the nearest village. Her dad had thought everyone was lost. He only knew that the plane, Flight 508, was lost in the Amazon jungle. There was no chance of ever finding the passengers. After a few weeks' rest, Julia and her dad with a group of rescuers ventured back into the jungle. After several days, she led them back to the crash site. It's now believed that 14 of the 92 passengers aboard Flight 508 actually lived a short time after reaching the ground. Julia's mother was one of them. Several bodies were never recovered. In years to come, Julia will follow in her parents' footsteps and become a biologist in research. She is now 72 years old. A few years back, she returned to the crash site to do a documentary about her amazing ordeal. 4 attempts were made before the site was located. Julia Koepcke has spent her career working with wildlife and conservation. She has spent years trying to understand the rainforest that almost cost her her life.